Okay. Okay, so we can begin. We do 3 bows to the Buddha. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And then we'll do the salutation 1 time. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened one. And today is June 22nd. Well, that means we're in the summer. Yesterday we passed from springtime into summertime. Okay, so today we're going to be doing a sutta which is a bit different from the usual type of suttas that we've been taking. So this is not so much an analytical sutta or an expository sutta, but this is going to be a sutta which focuses on or centers around a series of verses in praise of the Buddha. And I think the sutta sort of highlights an important aspect of early Buddhism that's often overlooked, and that is the aspect of, we can call this, devotion, faith and devotion. So often early Buddhism or Theravada Buddhism is depicted as being highly analytical, a bit dry, technical, sometimes a little bit boring in its analytical detail and precision. But if we really look closely in the collection of suttas, we could find sort of under the surface and popping up to the surface from time to time, suttas and especially verses which are of great, almost lyrical beauty in praise of the Buddha or praise of the Dhamma. And that will be the sutta that we'll be reading today. Okay, so let me share the screen. And I've taken both the Pali version, the original Pali version, and the English translation. And probably I'll be explaining based on the Pali version, but you'll also see the English translation. It's from last week, we don't need. Okay, so let me share the screen. Okay, you see the English version?
Yes, Bhante.
How is the size?
If you can make the screen bigger, Bhante, would be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Longer as well.
What is that?
She said longer at the bottom to pull it
Okay,
down.
then I'll try to arrange it one on top of the other rather than side by side. Okay, I'm going to. Okay, the prose portion we can just take off the English. So this is now, we're in the Anguttara Nikaya, the Numerical Discourses of the Buddha, and we've been going through the Book of Sixes. And so this is the Sutta number 43 in the Book of Sixes. Okay, so the background story, the Buddha is living at Savatthi, Jeta's grove, and then he walks for alms, and then after the meal, he tells Venerable Ananda, let's go to the other side of Savatthi, that's the eastern side, to another dwelling or monastery that has been set up there, Migaramata's mansion. And so they go to Migaramata's mansion, and then in the evening, the Buddha comes out from his meditation and tells Ananda, let's go to the eastern gate to bathe. Apparently there was a bathing place out there, and so they go there. Okay, and on that occasion now, the king Pasenadi had a bull elephant named Seta. The word Seta means white. It was probably a very light-skinned elephant. And the elephant was coming out through the eastern gate to the accompaniment of instrumental music and drumming. I don't know why music and drumming was accompanying the elephant. But people see the elephant and they say that the king's bull elephant is handsome, the king's bull elephant is beautiful, the king's bull elephant is graceful, massive. Yeah, the word that's translated bull elephant is the word that will form sort of the theme of the sutta, is the word Naga. And we'll come to different nuances of this word just below. So the king's bull elephant is graceful, it's massive. He is a Naga, truly a Naga. Okay, then apparently there was another monk present at the scene whose name was Udayi. And Udayi says, he asked the Buddha, is it only when people see an elephant with a large, massive body that they say, a Naga, truly a Naga? Or are there other things that can be called a Naga, other things possessing a large body that can be called Naga? Okay, now this word Naga is used in the suttas primarily in reference to three things that I'm aware of. Okay, the first is that we find here a large elephant. So a very large elephant, especially one with tusks, a tusker, is called a Naga. The second, actually there are four senses. Okay, a second sense is in relation to the cobra. Cobra is a big snake that you find in Southeast Asia. And I think even in singular language today, they call the cobra Naya. Isn't that correct?
Yes, Bhante, Naya.
Yeah, so the word
Naya.
Naya is a sort of singular spin-off of the original Pali or Sanskrit word Naga. Okay, then there's a third sense. It's a little bit derived from the meaning of Naga as the bull elephant, as the cobra. And this is the sense that we refer to at the end of every class when we do the sharing of the merits. We go, Akasa ta cha bhuma ta deva naga mahidika. Then punyantang anumoditva chirang rakantu sasanang. So what is the Naga in that sense? So you see, in the ancient Indian way of thinking, the Naga as the serpent or the cobra also gets sort of reimagined as being a kind of semi-divine being that we might call a dragon, a kind of semi-divine being, very powerful being, dwelling. Some of them are said to dwell in the sky, others dwelling in deep forests on the earth, and other Nagas dwell deep at the bottom of lakes and seas where they guard hidden treasures. So a powerful being, the Naga is a very powerful being. In this case, the kind of supernatural, semi-divine being, sort of in shape, they're depicted as like dragons. And they're capable of undergoing a metamorphosis, a change, and appearing in the form on earth as cobras, and sometimes even transforming themselves into human beings. And so there's a passage that occurs in the Vinaya, that's the collection of Buddhist disciplinary texts on monastic discipline, where there is a Naga, in the sense of a dragon, who wants to become a Buddhist monk. And so he transforms himself into human shape and comes in front of the monks and says, I want to be ordained as a monk. And the monks think that he's a human being. And so they give him ordination, so he shaves his head. Apparently, when he appears as a human being, he has long hair, maybe a beard. So he shaves his hair, shaves the beard, gets ordained as a monk. But there's a thing about Nagas, when they appear in human form, when they go to sleep, when they fall asleep, it's sort of like a fixed law that they lose their human shape, their human form, and they appear as serpents. And so the next morning, the monks don't see this newly ordained Naga monk come out for his, maybe the morning chanting or the morning meditation. So they send one of the monks to go to his room to call him for the chanting. So the monk goes to the room, looks on the bed and sees not a newly ordained monk sleeping there, but a serpent wearing monastic robes. And so that then they realize that this person who got ordained the previous day was not a human being, but a Naga in human shape. And then they go to the Buddha and they report this to the Buddha. And so the Buddha lays down a new provision in the procedure for ordination, that when the candidate is coming up in the preliminary stage of the ordination process, the monks have to ask him, one of the questions, are you a human being? And so when, even I myself, when I was ordained back in 1973, the senior monk who was ordaining me asked me, are you a human being? So I have to testify that I'm human, that I'm not, to demonstrate that I'm not a Naga appearing in human shape. A Naga who is somehow flown over from California to Sri Lanka to get ordination. Okay. Excuse me, I didn't realize how funny that seems. Okay, so let's see the meanings of Naga we have. So the bull elephant, the serpent, the cobra, the dragon, and then the fourth meaning in which the word Naga is used in the early texts is to refer to the Arahant, because the Arahant is a massive being, but not necessarily in terms of physical shape, but in terms of spiritual attainment. Okay, so here, Udayi has asked the Buddha, is it only this massive elephant, a tusker, that can be called a Naga? Or are there other things possessed of a large, massive body that are called Naga? So the question is, in a way, a setup for the rest of the sutta. So the Buddha says, when people see an elephant with a large body, they say that is a Naga. And then when people see a horse possessed of a large body, they say a Naga. This is somewhat new to me. I'm not familiar with passages in the suttas which speak of a large horse as a Naga. When people see a bull, this is a member of the cow, a bull is a cow possessed of a large body, they call that a Naga. When people see a serpent, that is the familiar usage, the cobra possessing a large body, they say a Naga, they call that a Naga. When people see a large, massive tree, again, I'm not familiar with this usage, but it's testified to here, they call that a Naga. Then when people see a human being possessed of a large body, they call him a Naga. Again, I'm not familiar with just a large human being, physically large human being called a Naga. But this is the important usage. In this world, with its devas, Mara and Brahma, in this population with its ascetics and Brahmins, I call one a Naga who does no evil by way of body, speech, and mind. And then we find the explanation here. It's a kind of verbal wordplay. The word translated as evil is agu. And so agung na karoti, or we could invert the word order, na agung karoti. And then if we combine na agu, sort of playfully, we get naga. So na plus agu gives us Naga. Okay, then Udayi says that it's astounding and amazing how this was well stated by the Buddha, that I call one a Naga who does no evil by body, speech, and mind. And then Udayi goes on to, as a way of rejoicing in the Buddha's words, now he recites these verses. They're actually in Pali, very, very beautiful verses. And we'll look at them in both languages. Try to get them together. Yeah. Yeah, I changed the sequence a little bit from the sequence that you'll find in the printed book in order to conform more closely to the word order of the Pali. So it actually begins, you see, it begins with the object, with the being or person who's going to be called a Naga, set in the accusative case as an object, because it's the object of devotion of people, the reverence of people. So it says, Manusa bhutang sambuddhang atadantang samahitang. So this is a human being. the human being is sambuddhang, one who's enlightened. And probably referring to the Buddha himself, but it's also possible that the word sambuddhang, enlightened, can be used here in the broader sense to also encompass any arahat who has also reached enlightenment, but not the supreme perfect enlightenment of a Buddha, but enlightened. And then atta dantang, one who is tamed himself, and samahitang, samahitang is concentrated, and samahitang is the past participle form related to the word samadhi. So it's one who is able to obtain samadhi, meditative absorption. And then he's said to be iryamanang brahmapate, traveling on the path of Brahma. And so this can be a reference to what are called the Brahma Viharas, one who also dwells in the Brahma Viharas. The Brahma Viharas are these 4 divine qualities of boundless loving kindness, or metta, maitri, or compassion, and then altruistic joy and equanimity. So those can be called Brahma Viharas, the dwelling places of Brahma, and they're also the Brahmapate, the path of Brahma. And then Chittasu pasame ratang, one who rejoices or delights in peace or tranquility of mind. And so people venerate such a one. Pay homage to such a one. Human beings venerate that one, and the devas, the deities, also venerate such a one. And he's further called Sabba Dhammana Paragu. And this is just an abridgment for Sabba Dhammanam Paragu. So para in ancient Indian languages is understood as in relation to crossing a river. So especially during the monsoon season, when you have to cross a river, which can be a challenge. So one is standing on this shore, and then the other shore is para, the beyond, parimangtirang, the far shore. And the challenge is to get across from this shore, this bank, to the other bank. And then metaphorically, this bank, it becomes understood in Buddha's thought as the realm of samsara, the realm of birth and death. And the other shore is nirvana. And the river or stream is the stream of defilements, especially the stream of craving. And the task in following the Buddha's path is to go from this shore, the realm of birth and death, to cross over craving and the other defilements, and to reach the other shore, nirvana, nibbana, which is beyond all dhammas, all conditioned phenomena. And so the Buddha, or any arahant who has reached nirvana, is said to have reached the far shore, or to have gone beyond all dhammas, all phenomena. And so people, human beings, as well as the deities, pay homage to the one who is gone beyond all dharmas, all phenomena. Even the devas, because even though the devas are dwelling in the higher heavenly realms and the celestial realms, but the human being who has reached liberation in this life itself is superior to the devas. Okay, then Upali considers with his praise, okay, they pay homage to him who is Sabba Sangyojana Titang, that is, who is a Titang, is gone beyond, transcended all the Sangyojanas, all the fetters. So what are the fetters? So usually we have 10 fetters. So the view of self, doubt, clinging to rules and observances, ritualistic observances, sensual desire, aversion and ill will. What are the others? My memory is a little rusty. Osmond, you always used to get these questions.
Credit to existence in the form realm.
Yeah, maybe there's another microphone. Jason will give it to you.
Lust.
Wait, we have somebody answering here.
Yeah, clinging to existence in the form realm, also the formless realm. Conceit.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
okay, if you don't remember the 9th, try the 10th.
Udacha.
Okay, that's the 9th. Wait, let Osborne try to get the 10th.
Ignorance.
Yeah, right, okay, so he got 9 out of 10, and somebody provided the 9th. Okay, so I went through the first 5, then we have the other 5 he got correctly. One is craving for existence in the form realm, craving for existence in the formless realm, conceit, then the 9th is udacha, restlessness, and then the 10th is ignorance. So one who has transcended all of those fetters is an arahat, whether Buddha or disciple, they're arahats. Okay, the next line involves an interesting word play. Whoops. So this is the Burmese version, which I've followed. So we have Vana Nibbānam Agatung. So Vana, the word Vana means a jungle, like a woods, a jungle. And this is the ablative case, from the jungle. And then we have a past participle, come to. And then we have the word nibbana, and this can be understood. You see, there's a prefix near plus vana. And then when you combine R and V in Pali, it turns into a double B. So you would get nibbana. So nibbana is literally the absence of the jungle. What is the state free from the jungle, without the jungle? But the word nibbana looks also like nibbana. So nibbana is based on a different word, nibbati, to go out, to be extinguished, the state of the extinguishment of a fire. But because of the wordplay, some additions, here we have Sinhalese, Siamese, wow, 4 of them, Sinhalese, Siamese, Cambodian, and this is the PTS, the British edition. Take it, the reading to be Nibbana. But here I'm going to show off a little bit. I found a parallel to this in the Chinese. There's a Chinese parallel to this. So some of you who read Chinese will be able to follow this. So the Chinese has Yu Lin Li Lin Chi. So this is from the forest gone to the absence of the forest, to the departure from the forest. So the Chinese reading, which is based on a different transmission, supports the Burmese script edition. Okay, so he's come out from the jungle. You could, read it in both ways. He's come out from the jungle to the state that's free from the jungle, to the absence of the jungle. Or you can say he's come out from the jungle to Nibbana or Nirvana. Okay, then he's one who delights in or rejoices in. Then nekame often is translated renunciation, and usually it's put in opposition to kama. Kama are sensual pleasures. So this line is easy. One who delights in departing from sensual pleasures, or the renunciation of sensual pleasures. And then it's illustrated by a simile like kanchana. Kanchana is pure gold, refined gold, which is mutang, which has been freed from sela. Sela is rock, stone, the ore from which you obtain the gold. So I guess the rock represents the sensual pleasures, and you take the gold out from the rock. That is like the renunciation of the sensual pleasures. Okay, then he's called Sabbe Acharuchi Nago. So here he's explicitly called the Naga who outshines everything else. And again, another simile, just as Himavanye si luchaye. So Himava is the same as the Himalaya. So the word Hima in Pali, or the same as Sanskrit, means snow. And the word Alaya is the abode. So the Himalayas are the abode of snow. And here we have a different word, but based also on the same stem. Hima, snow. Himavant, that which possesses snow. So it's referring also to the Himalayan mountains. So just as the Himalayan mountains outshines or is superior to all of the other mountains. Okay, then the next line says, Sabesang Naga Namanang Sacha Namo Anuttaro. So this is of all the things which are named, we have the word nama, just very similar to the English word name. So of all these things that are named Naga, whether the elephant, the cobra, the horse, the tree, and so on, he, the Buddha or the Arhat, is anuttaro, unsurpassed, and satya-namo. Satya is true or truth. So he is the one who is truly named, whose name corresponds to the truth. Okay, now he's going to explain some of the other qualities of the highest Naga. So he says, Nagang vo kitai sami, nahi agung karoti so. So again, he says, I'm going to describe for you the Naga. And then again, indeed, agung na karoti. He doesn't do evil. So there's that wordplay of not doing evil. Na agung equals Naga. And so these are now his qualities. So the Naga, first he has the first 2 feet are so rachang avihingsa cha pada nagasa te duve. So 2 feet of the Naga are so racha. So racha is mildness, because he doesn't get angry, doesn't act roughly, doesn't speak roughly. And avihingsa, harmlessness, or say non-violence, not harming others by body or speech. So those are 2 feet of the Naga. But I think the Naga here is being conceptualized comparatively to the elephant. And so he has 2, in fact, you'll see that it's the elephant that's the object of comparison with the Buddha Naga or the Arahat Naga. Because now he has 2 other feet. Tapocha brahmacharyang charana nagasa tyapare. So this is te apare. So the other 2 feet are tapo and brahmacharya. So tapo is what I translate here as austerity, and it's a concept very, very fundamental to virtually all different systems of Indian spiritual practice. And the way it was conceived in the Buddha's time, the idea of tapas, was inflicting pain on the body or undertaking practices of extreme renunciation, especially involving self-mortification. For example, undertaking long fasts, week-long fasts, month-long fast, or sleeping on beds of nails, or standing for long periods on one leg, undertaking these, or subjecting the body, getting very close to a burning fire. Of course, not throwing oneself in the fire, but remaining in the proximity of a fire for long periods. And the idea here is not that one is punishing oneself. That's quite a foreign idea. It maybe would represent types of medieval Christian asceticism, but not the pre-Buddhistic asceticism. But the idea is that by subjecting oneself to extreme pain, maintaining one's equanimity of mind, one builds up an inner spiritual power that one can use for performing sometimes wondrous feats, like supernatural feats, or developing strong inner spiritual power through which you could achieve higher states of samadhi and realization. The Buddha rejected the practice of extreme self-mortification, but he sort of redefined the idea of tapas as, you could say, the renunciation of sensual pleasures, and especially energy and diligence and heedfulness in meditative practice. And then corresponding to tapas, we have brahmacharya, which again is one of those fundamental concepts of Indian spirituality. Brahmacharya is, Brahma is the divine, you could say in a broad sense, and charya is practice. So brahmacharya is the divine practice, or practice that leads to the divine state. And so the Buddha uses the term brahmacharya sometimes to refer to his entire spiritual practice is called brahmacharya. But then it has a more limited sense of the life, the monastic life. So leaving the household life to enter upon the life of monastic renunciation. So that's brahmacharya. And then still a narrower sense, more specific sense, is the renunciation, the giving up of engagement in sexual activity. In other words, celibacy. And so we have those various nuances of brahmacharya. And of course, the Buddha is one, or an arhat, is one who has fulfilled all three of them. He's one who has renounced, who has lived the entire spiritual life, completing the Noble Eightfold Path, one who has entered the monastic life of renunciation, and one who observes celibacy. So austerity and brahmacharya, those are the Naga's other 2 feet. So we have a Naga with 4 feet. And then the other items of the simile illustrate it has to be the elephant that's the object of comparison. So here we have Sadahato Mahanago Upeka Seta Dantava. So this great Naga has, Hato is the elephant's trunk, but for the great Naga spoken of here, the trunk is faith, which seems a bit odd in relation to the Buddha, since the Buddha no longer needs faith. He's the object of faith. But maybe in case of the Buddha, you could say that his trunk is that inspiring faith in others. But anyway, that's just the simile. So the trunk is faith, and the elephant, the bull elephant, has tusks. And in the case of the arhat, or the Buddha, the tusks, the ivory tusks, are equanimity. Okay, then continuing with the simile. So what is the neck? The elephant has the neck. The neck is sati, mindfulness, and the head is wisdom. And then this wisdom is elaborated as vimamsa dhammachintana. So vimamsa is investigation. So where you examine things, And Dhammachintana is reflection on Dhammas, or thinking about Dhammas. I had a note on this. Yeah, here. I based it on the commentary. So it's just the way the elephant investigates what is to be eaten and what is not to be eaten, and then it rejects what is not to be eaten, and it takes up to eat what is to be eaten. And so the Buddha Naga has this investigation or reflection on Dhammas, which is the knowledge by which he is able to discriminate the different categories or classes of phenomena. So with his wisdom, he's able to distinguish the five aggregates and to see what is material form, feeling, perception, mental formations, consciousness, and so on. Okay, then the heat of the belly is said to be Dhamma. I don't know what the specific meaning here. And the tail is Viveka, which is seclusion. Okay, then he's said to be Jayi. So Jayi asasa rato ajatang susamahito. So he is a meditator, and the word Jayi is of course related to the word jhana, so indicating that the Buddha or the Arahat is one who often dwells in the jhanas, and asasa rato, delighting in consolation, but the word asasa also means inbreathing. And the way the commentary explains this, I think took the comment here. That the Arahat often dwells in the fruition attainment, that is a special meditative absorption in which he can directly experience the bliss of Nibbana. Okay, then it continues that he's internally well concentrated. The Naga is concentrated when going or walking, when standing. When lying down, let's get the English. Okay, when lying down, the Naga is concentrated. When sitting, he's concentrated. The Naga is always restrained. And so this is said to be the Nagasa Sampada, the success or the accomplishment of the Naga. Okay, then continuing, again is comparing to the elephant. Okay, this might seem a little bit odd. So, Bunjati anavajani, savajani nabunjati. So he eats blameless food. He doesn't eat what is blameworthy. So what is the sense of this? How could food be blameworthy? So this is referring to the way the Buddha or the Arahat acquires his food, that he obtains it in an honest way, by right livelihood, not by wrong livelihood. And wrong livelihood would be You see, when the monastic is dwelling in dependence on lay people, like trying to persuade them, you have to give to me, or threatening them. If you don't give food to me, you're going to receive some bad karma and you're going to get punished. Or putting on a dishonest front in order to convince people that you are holy, that you are saintly, so people will be impressed and want to make offerings. And so this is a case of a monk who might be very negligent in his day-to-day behavior, but when he goes out on alms round, he tries to show himself as being very mindful, very serene. And then once he gets his food, then when he gets back to the temple, again, he becomes sloppy and negligent. So you could say being hypocritical in order to get offerings. But the Buddha or the Arhat doesn't get the food in that way. And then gasang achadanang lada sanniding parivijayang, that having gained food and clothing, he avoids storing these things up. So the ideal, and I have to say that nowadays for us, we're in many ways far from the ideal. But the ideal is that it's a little bit like the saying of Jesus. How does it go? Don't store up for tomorrow, for sufficient to the day is the evil thereof. It goes something like that. So you don't store up food or clothing, but you just depend on what is offered each day. But of course, living in large monasteries, people will bring many things. And so the ideal is that we sort of give it over to a lay person who is the sort of the stores manager at the monastery, and they will store the things and provide them, prepare the food the next day, and then offer it freshly the next day. But the real ideal is that you don't store up anything. You collect your food on alms round, you take what you need. Anything left over in the bowl, you could put at the edge of the wood for the animals to eat. And then the next day you start again. Okay, then the next verse. Sangyojana manung tulang sabang chidvana bandhanam. So again, we have a reference to the sangyojanas, the fetters, and bandhana, the bonds. So having cut off all the fetters and bonds, whether they are the gross ones, like the 5 lower fetters, or the subtle ones, the 5 higher fetters, wherever he goes, we say, without concern, in a kind of perfect equanimity. And then we have the beautiful simile for the Buddha, very common simile. Yatapi udake jatang pundurikang pavadati nupalipati toyena suchi gandang manoramang. So it's just as the Pundarika, this is the white lotus flower, is born in the water and grows up in the water, but it is not tainted by the water, and it always remains fragrant with a beautiful fragrance and delightful. So that is the simile, and then we have the application. Tateva loke sujato buddho loke viharati nupalipati lokena toyena padumang yata. So just like that lotus flower, just so the Buddha is born well-born in the world, and he dwells in the world. But he is not tainted by the world, just as the lotus is not tainted by water. Yeah, maybe to leave some time for questions, I'll skip over the next couple of verses. And then just take okay, so we have that this simile, this extended comparison of the Buddha to the Naga, the bull elephant, was taught by the wise, and then great Nagas, those with great wisdom, will know the Naga that was taught by the Naga, that's by the Buddha. And then the concluding verse, so it says that Vitarago, Vita doso, Vita moho, anasavo. So he is without raga, without lust. Vita doso, devoid of hatred. Vita moho, devoid of delusion. Anasavo, free from the asavas, from the taints. Then sarirang vijahang nago. Parini bisati anasavo. So this Naga, when discarding, laying aside the body, will attain the final nibbana, being without any of the asavas. He will be utterly quenched, attaining the final nibbana. Yeah, so those are the verses spoken by this monk Udayi in praise of the Buddha. Okay, I think I'll stop the share and then we can take any questions that come up. Yeah, so please, you can ask questions using the hand symbol. Okay, I see the first one is from Amy.
Thank you, Bhante. I have a quick question. It's regarding Dhamma and Nibbana. From earlier on this lecture, it seems to me that Nibbana was going beyond all Dhamma, and so that I have a question with the three phrases: Sabe Sankara Anicca, Sabe Sankara Dukkha, Sabe Dhamma Anatta. I used to think that Dhamma includes Nibbana, which wasn't Sankara in the previous two verses. And now with this lecture, it seems like that understanding was incorrect.
You mean because of that line, Sabadhamma Parag? Sabedhamma Paragu? The one who has gone beyond all Dhammas?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. In that line, I think we have to understand that Sabadhamma is referring to all conditioned Dhammas. So pretty much it's the same, there is the same as Sabe Sankara, all conditioned things.
Oh, okay, okay. Whereas the verse Sabe Dhamma Anatta.
Yeah, I've seen different interpretations, whether in that line, all Dhammas can include Nibbana. Because certainly Nibbana is not to be taken as the atta, as a self. But yeah, I have to say I'm a little uncertain about that line myself, because it seems to me that it doesn't include Nibbana, because it says, Sabe Dhamma Anattati Yada Panyaya Pasati Atani Bindati Dukkhe. So when you see with wisdom that all Dhammas are not self, then one turns away from what is dukkha, And so it seems that all dhammas there are being included, being identified as dukkha, bound up with suffering. And so that wouldn't apply to nibbana.
Right, right, right.
But I think it's not something to really worry about because, I mean, it's definitely the case that nibbana is not to be taken as the self or as a self.
Right, right. Okay, thank you so much, Bhante.
Okay. Okay, so I see the next one, Antonio. Okay, you could go.
Thank you, Bhante, for the teaching, the lesson. My question is maybe related to the question from Amy, uh, where there is the verse Sankhare supasante sunibbuto ti pavucchati. It's in the third last verse. I was wondering whether this is related with the Sankhara as the second link of the Paticca Samuppada, like saying, because you don't have much stuff, Sankhara, much karma, then you are like extinguished, Nibbuto. Is possible to have this kind of interpretation of the verse?
Okay, I think the verse that you're referring to, I stopped the share. Let me bring the sharing back. You see, there are different readings of that line. Okay, so I think you're referring to the reading. The line that I typed, was that the reading that you have? Hello?
Almost. Sankharesu upasantesu.
Sankharesu, how does it go?
Sankharesu upasantesu. I can write it down.
Yeah, this gets to a question of Pali, but I took the reading, a different reading. I took the reading Angaresu cha santesu. Angara are coals.
I understand. So it's totally different, maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, I wouldn't really push. You could also have this reading with Sankharesu. Yeah. Okay, now I understand your question. Yeah, you could take that to be the sankharas and dependent origination. Yeah, that would work. Is that the point? But it's
Yes, like
versus-
the previous karma or something like that.
yeah, one could take
You
it
don't
that
have
way.
a fresh karma.
Yeah, but the thing is that the verse is not very specific about exactly what is intended. Let me just see the line that you have. Okay, now I see. Yeah, I followed the reading in some other editions. And the commentary doesn't comment on that line, so we don't really know what text the commentator had. Okay, anyway, I wouldn't be really too worried about it, but you could take it as the sankharas of dependent origination. So when those sankharas have settled down, then it's said that one has attained nibbana. Okay, let us take further questions. So,
Yes, thank you.
yeah, Vandana?
Thank you, Bhante, for your teachings. I just have a very simple question, not something complicated. So for viveka means we usually it's a very common word in Hindi language, and when we has to tell somebody to be sensible or use some wisdom, we tell them, oh, use some vivek. Not so. I'm just curious to know where this word seclusion, how it's connected, because Sanskrit is viveka means be wise or sensible.
Yeah, there's a difference in the way the word viveka is used in Buddhism and in maybe the Vedantic or yogic traditions, the tradition of Yoga Sutras. There, viveka is used in the sense of discrimination and distinguishing, like using wisdom to distinguish what is like real and what is unreal. But somehow in Buddhism, it takes on a different meaning. I think the basic sense of viveka then is separation. So within the Vedantic tradition, viveka takes on the meaning of being able to separate what is real from what is unreal. And that then becomes in that sense an aspect of wisdom. Whereas in Buddhism, viveka has a sense of separation, still separation, but is spoken of as first physical renunciation, like leaving behind social activities and going off into a quiet place, especially for meditation. So that is said to be bodily viveka. And then there's inner mental viveka, which is the sort of seclusion of the mind from all disturbing thoughts and emotions.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, I think we're going to have to end for the day since I'll have to go up for the meal. Okay, and so we're going to end with the sharing of the merits. And remember, we're going to have the word Naga when we do the dedication. And so we're going to share the merits of our meditation earlier this morning and of our teaching and listening to the Dhamma. We share the merits with the Devas and with the Nagas, those are the dragon spirits, and then with all beings. Akasata chabumata deva naga mahidika panyantang anumoditva chirangra kantu sasanang. Akasata chabumata deva naga mahidika panyanta manumoditva chirangra kantu desakam. Akasata chabumata deva naga mahidika panyanta manumoditva chirangra kantu mang parang. Dukapata chani duka payapata chani baya sokapata chani soka antu sabe pipanino. May those in suffering be free from suffering. May those in fear be free from fear. May those in sorrow be free from sorrow. May all living beings also be thus. And then we end with 3 bows to the Buddha, and we have the Buddha image just behind me, so I'll get up and do the bows. Okay, so thank you all for joining.
Thank you, Bhante, and about to Bhante Bodhi.
About to
Thank you,
Bhante.
Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you,
Stay
Bhante.
well.
Bhante,
Thank you,
have a good
Bhante.
lunch, Bhante. Take care of your health.
Thank you, Bhante.
Tiruvan Sarnai Bhante, Namo Buddhaya.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Bhante.
Bhante. Namo Buddhaya.
Okay,
Thank you, Bhante.
okay,
See you,
Take
Bante.
care of
Thank
your
you.
health,
Happy
Bhante. Be
Wednesday,
fast.
Bhante.
Take care
Good
of your
to
health.
see you today, Bhante. Bye-bye.
thank you. Okay,
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you,
okay, I'm
Bhante.
going to end the
Thank you,
session.
Bhante. Wonderful teachings.
Okay, thank you.
Good health and long life, Bhante.
Sadhu, Bhante.